Phil here. All right, moving on. We're going to be moving on into taking a look at putting all of these chord shapes together and then breaking them down. So I might have to do a two-parter on this one as well, because I think it's easier if I break it up and it doesn't become this really long video. But again, this one's going to be filled with images. So let's start with the first image and we'll look at the neck. Here we go. All right, so this first image, you'll see a 24 fret neck. There's nothing on it. But what we're going to do with this is a 2-octave neck. Most guitar necks have fret markers on the odd frets with double dots on the 12th and 24 frets, the even frets. Or we could say the octaves of the open strings. So let's place our first chord shape. And as you can see on this next image, I've got a D shape with 2 open strings and then 1 note on the first fret of the 2nd string. This is the classic D chord shape. What we're going to do next is we're going to overlay the C shape. And so we'll have the C shape and the D shape like they're both pieces of a puzzle. Can you see how these two shapes overlap? We talked about this in the previous video, but we're going to call this the DC shape. So let's take that DC shape and find where it repeats on the neck. Remember the idea of octaves. What happens at the 1st fret also happens at the 12th fret. Or we could say the open strings and the 1st fret, 12th and 13th fret. Because this is a repeating pattern, it helps simplify shapes on the neck. Remember what happens when we find repetition? We start to see similarities on the neck, and in turn we start to simplify the neck. Let's look at the next one. The next one we're going to move on to is the A shape. Notice how on the 5th string, the blue dot overlaps one of the dots from the DC shape. This is a connection point. In other words, this shows us how we can start to see the same chord up the neck by using these 6 basic shapes. Shapes that are considered foundational to learning. However, traditionally, they're only taught to us as beginners in just first position. Okay, now moving on, we're going to take that A shape and we're also going to put a G shape down. And you can see on the right-hand side how I've got this G shape in black and I've kind of overlaid it with the A shape. We did this earlier with the DC shape, so this is nothing new. We're just overlapping these shapes. So now I've got 2 really big chord shapes. I've got the DC shape and I've got the AG shape. Again, could I play these? I mean, could I play all this at the same time? Obviously the answer is no. We're trying to just find connections and see how things connect on the neck as a whole. Finally, we'll place the F shape down. As you can see, that starts on the 8th fret and it repeats on the 20th fret. And then lastly, as we go to the last slide here, we're going to overlay the E shape. We're also going to look at the 8th fret on the 6th string and the 20th fret. You can see how there's another dot there. We're doing this because this is a traditional bar chord shape. And again, it connects us not only on the 6th string, but the 1st string to the G shape. Again, so I have connection points, all right? Now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna look at this neck and I'm going to highlight some connection points. And the reason I'm highlighting them is because I want you to see that we've added some things. If you look at the DC shape, we've added 2 notes. 1 on the open E string and 1 on the 3rd fret of the E string. We've also done that at the 12th fret because remember, anything that's open repeats on the 12th fret. And then we've also done that on the 15th fret because we're just adding the octave from the 3rd fret. Lastly, we're doing that on the 24th fret. So we've got these colors. We've got an orange for the DC shape. We've got kind of a blue for the AG shape. And we've got a green for the FE shape. And the reason we're doing this is just to start defining these chord shapes into a more specific design. If we look at the next image, you'll see the DC shape, the AG shape, and the FE shape as these large puzzle patterns. And what we're doing is we're just saying, hey, all of these notes can be used to play a major chord shape. Again, this isn't just for the C chord, this is for any major chord. Okay, so now let's look at the next slide, but this one, we're going to take these shapes and eliminate everything that we don't need to produce a whole new shape and a concept. Okay, so the next slide, let's look at that. You'll see that each one of these shapes is now refined. And the way that's refined is that there is only one note per string. The DC shape has the D shape on the first 3 strings. It has a C shape on strings 2, 4, and 5. And if you really want to think about it, if you look at that, the 4, 5, and 6, that is a classic E shape. It's just on the bottom 3 strings. Now, if we look at the AG shape, you can see I've used a portion of the A shape, strings 1 through 4, and I've used a portion of the G shape, 5 strings, right? Strings 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6 as the G shape. But again, these are eliminated down into just one note per string. Finally, the FE shape. As you can see, the entire F shape on the top 4 strings and the E shape on strings 3, 4, and 5 are included. But instead of keeping it a classic E shape where that last dot would be back and align with strings 1 and 2, I've put that on string 6 up the neck. 5 frets total, right? If I look at where the F shape starts and I count from there 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and go to the 6th string, I have stretched all the way to that low E string. Again, is that a chord shape that's playable? No, realistically, you're never going to do that. However, we're doing it for a reason, because what we want to do next is we want to align all of these notes that we have just defined, and we're going to signal them out as roots, 3s, and 5s. So if you look at this next diagram, should already be up in front of you, we've got 2 necks. One neck with all the colored dots, and one neck with C's, E's, and G's, because those are the notes that make up the C major chord. Now we're going to either identify all of these notes as a root, a third, or a fifth. We'll start with a root. All right, so we're going to stop it here because I'm going into probably almost 10 minutes, and I don't want to make this a super long video. We're going to go into another video, and what we're going to do now is we're going to identify all of these notes on these necks with roots, 3s, and 5s. But I want to make that a separate video, so that's something that you can watch again and again as well. After you get this concept down, you probably won't need to watch this video again, all right? So that's it for now. We'll go on into the next video and discover all these shapes. See you in the next vid. Thanks, guys. Thanks for watching this video. Again, I'm Phil Olson. To purchase the Awesome Guitar Series, click on the link below. It'll take you to Amazon. You can see full descriptions of each one of the volumes. After you've made your purchase and you receive them, go home and practice.